Welcome to the Big Idea podcast, where we focus on food. Today we're talking to Will from Extracellular, based in the UK. He's working with cell-based companies around the world to help them scale up their technologies. So, great company, great conversation. We also mention some of the other companies in this space, Optimize Foods, Shock Meat, and others. So if you're interested in cellular agriculture, please do come and listen to our podcast today with Will from Extracellular, extracellular.com. Many thanks. Hi, Will. Welcome to the Big Idea podcast, where we focus on food. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me on this.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Happy New Year to you, which immediately dates the podcast if people are listening in a year's time or 2 years' time. But Happy New Year 2023. I know it's going to be a great one for Will Milligan and for Extracurricular.
Extracellular.
I know. I was checking whether you were listening. We actually did talk about Extracellular before I came on, so I know exactly what it's called. Extracurricular is not the right word. Extracellular is. Okay.
Well, it was an extracurricular activity for a couple of months before I really plunged feet first into it.
It's funny because I've actually got the domain name and your website up at the same time as you, so I know exactly what it's called. I wonder why that came out. That's very weird. Okay, so let's get going. Already managed to have my first screw up in the podcast for 2023. Amazing. Let's get it out the way, and hopefully the rest is good. So Will, let's get back to it. Tell us about Extracellular. Tell us what you're up to.
Yeah, so Extracellular is a scale-up and development partner for cultivated meats. So around the world, there are more than 100 companies, as you well know, developing cultivated meat as a sustainable and ethical source of nutrition to feed the planet more sustainably. And they're all facing the same challenges. They all need to scale their manufacturing up hugely. They all need to reduce their costs. And we need to get these products to market as quickly as possible. And that's what Extracellular wants to help with. We're set out to really help all of these cultivated meat companies deliver on the potential of the technology.
So last time I looked, and there was a GFI spreadsheet somewhere, I think there was something like 300 plus, maybe more now, probably more now, cell-based agriculture companies. So companies looking to solve a lot of the challenges and scale up, this new way of producing meat. So one of the things I've identified as part of the challenge of this whole new sort of category is the immaturity of the scale up infrastructure, of the production infrastructure. It's funny because for the last, 5 or 6 years, people in the industry have been talking about, the potential of cell-based agriculture being 2 to 3 years out. And we've been hearing that over and over again. And it seems like the goalposts just keep moving. But you're banking on the time is now. This is it. And by the way, I would wholeheartedly agree with you. So I'm really glad you're out there building this. But tell us why now is the time for Extracellular to be supporting those young companies on scale up and growing their cell-based meat companies.
Yeah, I think the reason why now is the time to do something in this space is because there are enough big companies that have really, broken out of the gates and tried to do something special and tried to really bring these cultivated meat products to market. You've got Upside, Meatable, Mosa Meat, you've got Believer, and they're really laying the path for these hundreds of other companies that are developing technologies in the space. But they were leading the frontier, and actually the technologies didn't exist. The scale of what they needed just didn't exist in the marketplace back then. So they had to do it themselves. They had to build their own scale-up capabilities. They had to develop their own media formulations, and they had to, innovate on carriers and cells. But now that they've proven that there is real potential with this technology, more and more solutions are going to come to market. And I think it doesn't make sense for a lot of these cultivated meat companies in particular to build up this manufacturing and development capability themselves, because it's hugely expensive. And we need to get to the point where we're proving the technology first. And that's really what Extracellular set out to do. So for instance, we're setting up bioreactor capability and development capability that dozens of cultivated meat companies can come and use. Before they can afford to spend that $1 million, $2 million, $10 million on CapEx, we can help get access to it, help them get access to it in their first months of company setting up, not in year 2, 3, 4.
That's fantastic. I've seen phases in this category, in the cell-based meat category. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there were companies kind of coming through from a cell line perspective, i.e., we're going to do turkey, we're going to do beef, we're going to do, whatever the particular cell line of choice was. The blockers to scaling up the category were still there. It was finding alternatives to FBS. It was scaffolding. There were different things that were still stopping the category from exploding and expanding from a volume perspective. Then I saw the phase of companies coming through, focusing in on those blockers and solving them. And that's why I think we're there now. We're seeing companies coming through now who could literally be the next, I hate to put it in these terms, but, JBS, Tyson, the kind of large meat producing companies of the future using this far more sustainable, sort of planet friendly technology to produce the meat that people want. What do you see as Extracellular's role? Is it very much working with some of those younger companies to sort of prove the concept and then get the funding they need to kind of get their companies going? Are you sort of the first stepping stone, or how do you see your role in this industry over the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, I think Extracellular will be the leader in development and scale up in cultivated meat. And the reason why I'm trying to position Extracellular as that is because, we have the opportunity to really identify the best technologies on the market and help companies to get their products through development and onto supermarket shelves and onto restaurant plates. And I think that covers, as you were mentioning, the small, medium, and the large businesses out there. So if you're a small cultivated meat business, or maybe you're just spinning out of university and you need that proof of concept data to show that actually your cells, your scaffold, your media works, well, we can help do that because we've got the right equipment and infrastructure. If you're a medium business and you're trying to develop those first taste tests or that first product to send out to potential partners or customers, then we can help do that with the bioreactors and with the equipment that we have here. And longer term, we hope to grow with the entire sector so that if you are trying to bring your product to restaurants or supermarkets, that hopefully we're the partner to help do that with you as well.
Got it. And right now, you're based in the UK?
Yeah, that's right, in Bristol, in the southwest of England. So we're in a life science incubator here. We're alongside about 10 other biotech companies, and we're not the only food tech companies here, and some companies are working on agri-tech stuff. But yeah, we're set up in the southwest of England, and I think it positions us pretty uniquely around the world in that with the development work that we're doing, it spans continents. So we can help companies in Asia, in Europe, in the US develop their products or their formulations, and that knowledge is transferable super easily. But we won't stay in Bristol forever. We plan to grow to support the sector globally. So what you can't do very easily is ship kilos or tens or hundreds of kilos of cultivated meat product around the world. So we plan to build our capabilities out in those markets that are really relevant for cultivated meat companies to sell their products into.
Amazing. So I was going to ask you why there, but I think you've just answered that. You kind of preempted my question.
Yeah, Bristol is a gem in biotech, in my opinion, but not many people have identified it. We've got great universities around, great infrastructure. The talent is amazing in the southwest of England, and it was voted the best place to live in the UK a couple of years ago. So I love being here. It's got a great food scene as well. It's also one of the vegan capitals of Europe. So if ever you want a good vegan meal, Bristol's a safe place to get it.
Fantastic. But from your point of view, this is one of the kind of areas or the nexus of being able to access Asia, being able to access Europe, etc. So it's a good location. But Extracellular will be looking at other locations in the future. One of the things I'd like to do is, if just in case there are any entrepreneurs who are focused on cell-based agriculture listening in, how do you support them? Let's kind of get a bit more nitty gritty in terms of what does Extracellular actually do, and how can it help me if I'm a founder of a cell-based company?
Yeah, we have the right labs, the right equipment, the right people, and the right processes to develop cultivated meat products. So right now in our labs, we're currently doing experiments, baseline experiments with pig fat cells, with cow muscle cells. We've got fish cells at the moment. We've got quail cells in our liquid nitrogen ready to go into culture. And what we're trying to do is break ahead of the needs of the industry and demonstrate those baseline processes, for instance. And what I hope to do is, if you're a startup and if you're trying to figure out how to develop your process, well, we can help do it so much quicker than if you try to do it yourselves, because we've got everything we need. If we get into the nitty gritty of it, if you're spinning out of a university and you've got your great cell, you might have edited it in some way that makes it the tastiest or the fastest growing or the most cost effective, but you still need to develop your serum-free media formulation. Well, we have equipment to help formulate those new media formulations, and then we can put it in little bioreactors to see how those formulations compare to what you might have been doing in your university labs or in your spin-out labs.
And what's the business model? How do people who want to work with you pay you? How do they afford to do it? Is it a gazillion dollars for everything you do, or what?
Yeah, we're set up to try and help all kinds of businesses at whatever stage they're at. So we go out and try and get government grants, for instance, to help those early stage companies that are developing formulations. And so we're developing species-specific formulations at the moment that we can potentially license in. So we're doing all the upfront research. The government in the UK is helping fund it. And that might shortcut development timelines by 12 months or 18 months. And we might be able to license that in without those companies spending a penny. If you need a specific process developed and you want to retain all of that know-how, then we can develop that for you on a fee-for-service model. So you pay for us to develop that. And confidentiality is a big issue in the cultivated meat space. I like to be as open and collaborative as possible, but sometimes it's not the strategic decision of a company. So the way we try to operate is on a need-to-know basis. So if you want us to develop a process with your novel cells or your novel media, you can blind it, and we can do that optimization for you, and we'll return the results, and you can unblind it for yourself.
Okay, so one way is to break it. Sorry, I'm sort of wanting to just make sure I nail this for people listening, because I'm not sure I fully get it, and it could just be because it's early morning and I need more coffee. One way of charging is by working with a company to help apply for grants, and those grants will cover the expenditures of working with you and of scaling up. Of moving their business forward. So, there's grant support and grant access is one way. If a company's already gone through, for example, an equity round and they've already got some degree of capital behind them, a little bit of a war chest. Is it a fee for service, or is it a kind of retainer? I'm just sort of trying to get my head around the kind of financial side just a little bit, because
absolutely.
If I'm a founder, this is an important kind of question for me, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so like you said, there's the grant funding option where we can develop products and potentially license it to them. There's the fee for service model where we will scope out what kind of work you need and deliver it against certain work packages and milestones, and then we can support them on that development journey. So yeah, there's those basic two models, with the grant funding and licensing, or with fee for service.
And we're seeing larger companies starting to touch this space, starting to take a look at this space. Is there some kind of support for working with a larger company that's starting to dip its toe in the water with cellular?
What kind of companies have you got in mind?
I mean, for example, traditional meat companies. Traditional meat companies are wondering if this is something to be scared of or something to grab a hold of and see this as one more opportunity to build their business in the future. If a larger company, I'm wondering if larger companies are coming to you and saying, "Hey, can you help us to kind of get our head around the potential of this thing and maybe start sort of talking us through." Or even working with us on some initial.
Yeah, we're starting to have these discussions. As a small startup, we have our own business to get off the ground and running, but already some of the bigger companies are trying to figure out, okay, if I'm building large scale equipment for the cultivated meat sector, how do we develop it and how do we test it without cultivated meat products? How do you know how cultivated meat performs in extruder technology, for instance, or in a new bioreactor technology? Imagine you're a flavor house, or if you're developing products for the sector and you want to know actually how I can integrate my already existing product into the cultivated meat sector. Well, you need product to test it with. And we're starting to see a lot of these large corporates try to understand how best to play in the cultivated meat space. And there are very few companies out there to really provide that large quantity of material to do it. And that's what we hope to provide as well.
Okay. So in terms of the future, you mentioned Bristol is where you are. You've also mentioned you're a startup. How do you see the next year or two going? Is it focused very much on where you are and sort of building the business, or do you see the need to start touching some of the other ecosystems as far as cell ag is concerned? Because there are different places around the world sort of building out these capabilities, and I think Extracellular has the potential to be in some cases, the glue for some of these young companies in many places around the world, not just the UK.
Yeah, so our focus is definitely going to be in the cultivated meat space for the next 12 months for sure. I see it as our responsibility as Extracellular to use our experience and understanding in biotech to support these companies get to market as quickly as possible, because ultimately we need more sustainable ways of living on the planet. We need new solutions in foods. And we've got another 2 billion mouths to feed over the next 20 to 30 years and a population that will eat more meat. And so I'm trying to approach this as ambitiously as possible so that we're kind of fulfilling the potential of this technology. And that means that we're trying to grow as quickly as possible, move as quickly as possible. We were one person, it was just me about 3 months ago, and now we're 10, 11 people now. We'll probably be 25 to 30 by the end of the year at the very least. The intention is for us to have a larger scale warehouse. We're currently in an incubator right now, but the plan is to move into our own building in the next 12 months or so that we can scale up quicker than any other cultivated meat company and help more cultivated meat companies develop their products, and really support these companies globally.
So I'm interested. Historically, the UK has been a biocenter. A lot of the sort of innovations have started in that country, and we have had a strong industry, a strong sort of ecosystem around biotech. From a cell ag perspective, probably the first mover has been Singapore in the last few years, and that's becoming quite a hub of activity, bringing founders and scientists and so on together around that category. Where else do you think Extracellular needs to be over the next 5+ years? UK, obviously, you've put the flag firmly in the UK there. Where else do you think it's important for Extracellular to be?
Yeah, if you look around the world and see those markets that are really investing in cultivated meat and need those solutions, it's the likes of, you mentioned Singapore, you've got Israel as well, the United States, Switzerland is investing hugely in it. You've got some of the founding IP in the technology in the Netherlands, for instance. So geographically around the world, there are a number of countries that are well positioned to really progress this, sustainable food solution quicker than anywhere else. The UK, I think, is a really interesting one in that it has the potential to really use its historical experience in biotech and create a really great player in the bioeconomy here. So there are a number of companies, of cultivated meat companies in the UK who are coordinating to try and grow the potential of this in the UK. But it takes engaging with government because really that's going to be the thing that dictates whether it's successful or not. Can we get these products approved and to consumers in an effective way, in a safe way? Can we build the right infrastructure and the right capabilities and the right facilities in the UK? I'm working with a number of other companies to help progress that.
So I think I've always thought of it as sort of 2 or 3 streams that are necessary to build this industry. One is the regulatory, and we've seen the regulatory environment shift in Singapore, opening it up quite expansively, which is fantastic. I think we're seeing the US is when they didn't have any questions for upside. I think there's things happening that are showing from a regulatory perspective it's going in the right direction. Now then you've got the potential of the technology. Is the technology actually ready for scale? Over the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years, it hasn't been. It's only been in the last 12 months where I've started to see some of those blockers, as I mentioned, getting solved. And there's the company out there, Evolved Meats, for example, that just skipped straight over scaffold. They just didn't even worry about it as a kind of as a necessary piece of the puzzle. And their technology is just mind blowing to me. But anyway. The third piece of the puzzle is scale up. So once upon a time, it was, can we do these things? Now we know we can. I don't think we've really had anyone focusing on, and I was going to say, we haven't had anyone focusing on getting to, 1 million tons of this stuff. But we have had a few companies who have sort of taken an agnostic approach and said what we need to do is bring together the best technologies across the entire value chain and bring them together. But there is a question here somewhere. I'll figure it out. Honestly, I promise. So I think the regulatory environment's getting there. I really do. I think in the next 12 months, the regulatory environment will be much better for everyone in this industry. I think we've solved some of the blockers, which is, if not all of, no, not all of them, but some of the blockers. But this is all very much at the small scale. You guys are really starting to think about and work on how do you scale this in so that it actually becomes a real product that has a real difference, that can make a real difference in the world because it's in the kind of volumes that mean something. How do we make that third piece happen, that scale up piece happen? Because the meat industry is a disassembly business. It's a put an animal in one end, cut it up, and take the pieces out the other end. Cell-based agriculture, cell-based meat, is a growth assembly business where we're building something, we're creating something. We're not breaking it down, we're building it up. It's a very different process and a very different business model. And I don't know anyone's thought about how to make it 100 tons or 1,000 tons a week yet. How do we get there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we need to get to those large scales is a mindset shift more than anything else. I think when I reflect on what the human race has achieved over the past 3 years through the pandemic, we really set ourselves a challenge to come up with some really fantastic safety solutions, diagnostic solutions, and therapeutics in light speed time, right? Because we knew that we had to figure out how to save patients' lives. And that was a complete mindset shift for developing products. I think we need to do the same thing with these cultivated meat products. So when I set up my labs, I was thinking, what bioreactor do I need to demonstrate what I did? Well, mindset shift, small scale, is now 200 liters, right? And that would be massive scale coming from research. So what some person might consider a 100 mil bioreactor, I'd start thinking in the 200 liters. And I'm thinking, okay, over the next 12, 24, 36 months, how do I get from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 as quickly as possible? And I think a lot of people are focused on developing technology solutions without thinking about that large scale. And we kind of need to treat cellular agriculture in general like we treated the pandemic. We need to come up with really radical, innovative ways of moving super quickly to come up with great solutions.
I think that's right. I think it's the start of the process. So the mindset shift needs to happen, but we've seen companies in the plant-based space. Now, obviously, this isn't the plant-based space, but we've seen companies in the plant-based space who can't get their head around the fact that they are a food company. They think of themselves as a technology company, and there's a difference. We need to bring people to the table who may not be biotechnologists, who may not have the experience of, cellular biology, any of those things, but they know how to build a production facility for food. They know how to put to build the processes, the flows, the large scale equipment, and ultimately then be producing X number of millions of tons of food X, whatever that X might be, on an annual basis. So it's kind of the mindset shift. That's a difficult thing to say.
It's a tongue twister, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit. The mindset shift is incredibly important and the first thing that needs to happen. But what I think we need to do is make sure that we're bringing all of the right people together, where we say, okay, we're going to need a facility, and this facility looks different than anything we've ever done before at this kind of scale. Humanity has never built a cellular meat production facility that can produce X number of millions of tons on an annual basis, right? So how do we do it? Okay, so we get the scientists and we get the folks who know how to set up food production facilities. We need, we need to make sure that it's that the regulatory environment conforms and the health and safety, and so there's lots of different players. It's a really fascinating problem to solve, and it's going to be exciting. It's not, and we don't even know yet whether the technology that we're playing with, and I hate to say playing with because we're not playing with it. We're super serious about it, but I hate that the technology we're working with, we don't know if it's going to scale yet. It should do, but we don't know if it's going to scale yet at this kind of at the kind of volume that the meat industry is dealing with on a day-to-day basis with traditional meat, right? And another great thing about this is this is going to be a whole new industry, and whichever country decides to grab a hold of this and to just jump in and make it happen, they could be, you know, a significant slice of the global volume of this product in over the next X number of decades. It's going to happen. It's going to take one government to say, we are going to be the cell-based meat producing experts of the world, and so we're going to build this, you know, 200,000 square foot facility somewhere, and we're going to bring all the right people together, and we're going to make this happen. And believe it or not, I think Extracellular is way ahead of pretty much anybody else out there in terms of thinking through the foundation of this whole new business, right?
Yeah, we hope to. And you know, the kind of people that we're looking to build our team with, you know, we have people from biotech companies, yes, but also, you know, large corporate food manufacturers. Already we have hired, you know, in our first 3 months of really building out our team, we hired someone from FMCG company, a multi-billion-dollar company, who's built facilities for ice cream and ketchup and mayonnaise, because we know that actually to deliver solutions in this sector, we're going to have to radically think about the facility of the future and what kind of equipment we need, what kind of technologies we need to develop, and how we really make things at scale. So we hope that we can help the whole industry achieve this.
How do you, and now I'm sort of focusing in on some of the challenges you might have had setting up your own business, because some of the people listening, apart from my, you know, my grandmother and my aunt, might actually be founders of companies. How do you go from one person 3 months ago to 10 people 3 months later? How do you do that? How do you do that well?
Yeah, you need to be pretty relentless about the vision. You really need to be fully committed to doing something. And I think you need to believe in your vision and your idea. And, you know, the best people to help judge whether that idea is a good one or not are the people who join your team, because they're leaving behind probably a pretty secure job to jump on board and help you try and achieve something. Your investors who are backing you with their money when they could put that money somewhere else, because what you're telling them, they believe in. And, you know, you really need to fully commit to what you're doing. Building a team is really interesting, because every time you bring someone in, you give away some responsibility. You have to delegate. You have to trust in them fully. And it's not an easy thing, but I've always taken the approach of trying to hire people to make yourself redundant as quickly as possible. So every job that I have, I think, oh yeah, you don't want to let go of those kind of things that you enjoy doing or that you think you can do better than anyone else. Make yourself redundant. And that will free you up to continue thinking about the vision, thinking about the challenges, and trying to progress the whole company and the ideas forward.
Now you've added 9 people to the team, if you're at 10 now, over 3 months. Have you had any hiring challenges yet? Have you sort of recruited someone and then realized quite quickly that there's not a perfect fit, whether it's culturally or, you know, in terms of capabilities?
We haven't had those challenges just yet, but, you know, I've worked in companies where we've had them before, and they're not the nicest conversations to have. I think in trying to grow a business from nothing to something, the biggest, or at least the most challenging thing I've had to do is try and find a co-founder. Now I started this as a solo founder, and I didn't realize why people said that starting as a solo founder was a bad idea until probably about 6 months in. And I spent a good bit of time after 6 months and the stresses of trying to get something off the ground, and realizing that actually I need some help and support. Spent a lot of time trying to figure out what that would look like. And if you're thinking about starting up a business as a sole founder, the thing that you need from a co-founder is someone to listen to you and to bounce off and to vent to, and to kind of share the bad times and share the good times that you don't have when you're the only person in the room. And I found that through an old colleague of mine who was, willing to, leave her very, very comfortable job that paid very, very well and go to a crazy startup with big ambitions and share the load with me.
It's funny because I've started 3 or 4 different companies in my career, and in the first couple, I ended up starting the companies with best friends, and the relationships didn't survive. Mainly because being a best friend or a friend is not necessarily an ideal filter for whether that person's the perfect co-founder or not. In some instances, it wasn't a good fit. If they're listening, I love you guys, but we probably both figured out it wasn't a perfect fit. So one of the mistakes I've made in recruitment over building multiple teams over the years is it's very easy to find people and be comfortable with people who are like you, who have the same sort of outlook, who have the same to some degree skill sets, and what you end up with is a company filled with people like yourself in some way. And what I've realized over time is that what makes a successful company is a diversity of skill set, experience, opinion, people who disagree, people who are prepared to challenge each other, and assumptions made, etc. Now, you obviously need people who are very much committed to the mission, the success of the company, who are focused on delivering big ideas to the world in one way or another. But I'm just sort of wondering about that, 10 people in 3 months. That's not crazy. I get it. But, do you think is that your role? I mean, no, let me ask a different question. Over the next, 2-3 years, do you think that bringing in as many people as possible is going to be a challenge, or do you see it just as this is a space where there's a lot of excitement, a lot of innovation, it's truly changing the world, and it's going to be quite easy to find great people?
Yeah. When I look at my team now, I see, a diversity of ideas, of experience, of interests, of personalities. And I fully agree with you. You need to have that diversity in your team, or else, you're just basically fulfilling what one person thinks is the right idea. But you need those people to challenge the status quo, to challenge your thinking, and to build the best version of what you're building. When we're growing, I think the most important thing is to hire on values before you hire on skills. And so we have some value tests when we are screening for candidates.
Okay.
We will turn away candidates with fantastic experience. Someone who comes and who can run a 200-liter bioreactor or a 1,000-liter bioreactor over and over again. But if they don't pass the values test, we won't even interview them. And I think that's the most important thing to do, because you're working for a startup is as much a privilege as anything else. And what you need to do, I think, as a CEO or as a founder, is to protect the people that you've brought in and really focus on the vision. And if you bring in someone with great skills but maybe the wrong kind of values, then you're kind of tarnishing that opportunity, or you're tarnishing that fun startup driven on a great mission. And you need to think about that before you bring in the wrong kind of talent.
I think you're exactly right. I really do. Having people with the right values is fundamental. If you get the culture right, everything else works ultimately. What are you most excited about for extra? I was going to do it again. For extra. What are you most excited about for Extracellular and your team at the moment and over the next, foreseeable? What's really making you jump out of bed in the morning and run down the street before you're fully clothed?
So the ideas that the team have to really just accelerate the whole development cycle it is really exciting. We're trying to come up with ways to cut 12, 18, 24 months of development down to a few months. And it's hugely challenging. We're trying to pull all of this experience, all these capabilities together. So on the technology front, that's really exciting. I absolutely love looking at the development of the team. Some people who have come in, this is their first job, and they've gained what looks like years of experience in only 3 months here, and seeing them grow so quickly and seeing that they have the potential to go on and do something huge is really exciting as well. That probably gets me out of bed more than anything else. I rely on my team so much, and I know they're going to, stay as long as they want to stay, but then go on and do something amazing after this if they want to. And I really hope to kind of support them in their journey as well. So helping the team is a big thing that I really look forward to over the next few months and years.
And what do you think is one of the bigger challenges for you, or what are some of the kind of things that you need to solve? I'm guessing, given the sort of global macroeconomic situation we're currently in at 2023, fundraising for everyone, not just Extracellular, is going to be more challenging than it was 12 months ago, more challenging than it was 24 months ago. But from your point of view, is fundraising one of the challenges, or have you guys nailed that and there's other things to worry about?
Yeah, I think, so I started Extracellular about 10 months ago, and it was still looking pretty good out there. And over the past 12 months, it's just got tougher and tougher and tougher. But I would far rather have started a business in the last 6 to 12 months than, a year or two before. Because I think, to go back to that tongue twister, the mindset shift, I think we are thinking about growing our business in a very different way today than we would have 12 months ago. We're thinking about how to be hipsters, hackers, and hustlers, basically. How do you take a £1 million budget and do £5 or £10 million worth of stuff with it? That's how we're trying to approach it. And I think the adjustment in the valuations of companies or how companies have to fundraise now, I think it's fair, because I think we need to develop cost-effective, sustainable solutions, and we're not going to do that by plowing billions and billions of dollars into relatively modest value products. I think we need to be a little bit more creative with it, and I relish the challenge.
I think that's fantastic. I think you're absolutely right. The great thing is, because we're all having to tighten our belts, it means we're needing to get more creative. We're needing to get more, smarter about how we do this thing. Now, one thing that's interesting is, over the last 5+ years, it was large food companies in the protein category who are sort of investing in this category. They know that this is $1 trillion category. They know that the market for these for protein is just enormous. It's a global need. So a lot of the money flowing in from an investment perspective were these large protein companies who wanted to be grabbing hold of the opportunity and weren't afraid of it. They weren't sort of thinking this is competitive. They were thinking this is another opportunity to progress in our own protein category. Over the last, I would say, 18 months, I've been hearing from governments that they see this as a significant opportunity, not necessarily because they want to own the protein category or the protein market, but because they see this as a technology that will be able to sustainably provide food security for their people for potentially decades ahead. So I think governments are starting to get involved in putting investment dollars into this space, even beyond what the large food companies were doing. So going to be super exciting. I'm sort of running down the middle of the street as well. We've made 30 plus investments in the cellular agriculture space over the last 3-4 years. I think we've probably made more investments in this space from a numbers perspective than anybody else in the world. So we're all in on cell and cell ag. If anyone's listening, and I say if anyone's listening because I don't know if they are. If anyone's listening, how do they help you? How do they help Extracellular go change the world and do all the things that you can do? What kind of support and help are you looking for?
Yeah, I think it's about helping people in general. I think we need to be far more open and collaborative on what we're doing. And, one of the things that I want to do is share what kind of data we're generating in our labs far more openly than typical cultivated meat companies do at the moment. For reason, it's a commercial reason as well. We need to share that we can do what we say we can do, but it also helps set the benchmark. And we're looking for partners and collaborators to do that with as well. So if you're looking to kind of do the same kind of research that we're doing in cultivated meat, and if you're happy to be open about what you're doing, then we'd love to collaborate with you, because ultimately we hope to bring together the best technology and do something really special with it. And we want to work with the right kind of partners to do that, whether it's on a commercial front, a collaboration front, or just generating data. But really, we wanted to see this whole sector progress.
So I'm guessing there's a sort of research and academic aspect where you'd love to collaborate by the sounds of it. There are various companies who are starting to get involved in thinking through the scale up of the technology. So there's the potential to partner with some of these food companies. I'm guessing as the funding continues, you'll be building the team, looking at places outside of the UK. So I'm guessing teammates and recruitment is a way that people can engage with you if there's someone that wants to make a difference and do something fun in this category.
Absolutely. We're always recruiting in this space, and you've hit the nail on the head. We have huge ambitions. This is a global need, and it's a global market, and we want to help it globally. We always have job applications open on our website. There's always a speculative application open. If anyone thinks that they have the right kind of background or experience and really wants to work in this space, there's always that job application open. It's on extracellular.com. So go and feel free to submit why you think you're the right person to help this sector and help Extracellular achieve our goals. And really, it's such an exciting and mission-driven career to jump into. Every one of the team absolutely loves the kind of challenges that they're facing now, and long may it continue.
So Extracellular is extracellular.com.
Yep.
How else? And you mentioned people can come to that website and reach out via extracellular.com. Are you guys available? Are you available on any other platforms if people want to reach out in another way?
Absolutely. LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to find us. You can always email us at hello@extracellular.com. Spelt like it's spelt in the dictionary. So just autocorrect and it'll get there. And they're the best ways to reach out to us.
Fantastic. Will, is there any question that you wanted me to ask that I didn't think about because I'm just too slow this morning?
Everyone always asks, when can I eat it?
Now,
I'm sure have you tried cultivated meat, Andrew?
Me? Yeah, of course I have. Yeah.
Good. I haven't. I went to Singapore and I spent weeks ahead of time trying to find out where I could try the stuff.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find a single place. So everyone usually asks, when can I eat it? And we're aiming to do a taste test in the next 12 months. So we are really focused on trying to build the right kind of facilities and develop the right kind of processes to a large enough scale to host a big taste testing. So I hope that within the next 12 months, it's not just me that gets to enjoy it here at Extracellular. It's the whole team, the people who have supported us on our journey, some of the key people that would love to try it. So
I've been fortunate enough to try it, and the funny thing is, tasted exactly like you would expect, i.e., meat. People who are new to this category, we're not creating a plant-based something that looks like and might taste a little bit like. This is under the microscope bioidentical with traditional meat. So there's actually no reason why it should taste any different than the meat you would get off of an animal. I've also been lucky enough to try cell-based caviar.
Great.
I know. We have a company in our previous cohort called Optimized Foods, and they created a cell-based caviar, and they're bringing that to market, which is amazing. Beluga caviar is one of the most expensive, food products in the world, and these guys have figured out how to make it using cellular technology. So some cool stuff going on in this space.
I think the high value cultivated products, and particularly the ones with the largest ethical considerations, will be the ones that have the biggest impact the soonest. Caviar's one, it's hugely expensive. It's also got other applications in cosmetics and nutraceuticals, and that's a great route for really those breakout products. But ultimately, those technologies and those innovations, I hope to see feed through to the foods that we eat every day.
Yeah, you've got Gourmet as well in Paris, who on the foie gras side, one of the most expensive unstructured meat products in the world, foie gras, which is obviously banned in many places because of how you need to mistreat the animal to get there. So Gourmet in France has solved and is solving that sort of equation. So amazing. Extracellular.com. Will, you're a rock star. I'm really excited about what you've managed to do in such a short period of time. Many applause and thank you. And if anyone wants to reach out to Will, extracellular.com. For some reason, my brain just keeps saying that other word I said right back at the beginning. I don't know why.
It's all right. We all need a few extracurricular activities in our life, right?
Let's not leave that as the thing people remember, because that'll lodge in their brain and extracellular will disappear. So extracellular.com, hello@extracellular.com, and LinkedIn to reach out to Will Milligan, Milligan, the amazing founder of Extracellular. Will, thank you so much for coming on today. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay. Thanks for coming along to the podcast today. Hope you enjoyed the conversation with Will from Extracellular. I made a bit of a snafu at the beginning of that podcast where I got the name wrong. Need a little bit more coffee sometimes. Okay, so Start of 2023, we've got a lot of fun things happening, a lot of fun things to do. Please come along to our podcasts in future. Love to get your engagement, love to get your comments. If you want to reach out to Will at Extracellular, it's extracellular.com. Also LinkedIn. I think those are the best ways. He also gave his email address, hello@extracellular.com. If you want to reach out to me, Andrew Ive, your host today from Big Idea Ventures, our web address is bigideaventures.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Andrew Ive, IVE. That's it. That's our day. If you need to get a hold of us, please do reach out. We want to talk to anyone who's interested in making a more sustainable food system, of bringing new technologies to market, of feeding the 10 billion in the future, of building ecosystems where we're bringing scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs, innovators, large food companies together, etc., to make a difference. So that's it. Look forward to catching up with you in the future. Please do reach out. This was the Big Idea podcast where we focus on food. Thanks again to Will from Extracellular. Andrew Ive signing off.